Hello and welcome to Chaos to Clarity, the podcast that's your compass to navigate the exciting world of service-based businesses. If you're a determined woman in your current business adventure, striving to conquer the chaos and build your empire, then you are in the right place. I'm your host, Maggie, your go-to business bestie and chaos navigator. I've spent nearly 2 decades in the service-based industry, building a photography business, a yoga studio, and now a thriving coaching practice. I've cracked the code to consistent income without all the chaos and noise. So get ready to increase your business growth, connect with your ideal clients, and find ease in both business and in life. It's time to turn your frustrations into inspiration and your chaos into clarity. So go ahead and grab your coffee, a pen and paper, and let's dive into the journey of building your dream service-based business together. Are you ready? Let's go. All right, everyone, welcome back to the Chaos to Clarity podcast. My name is Maggie. I'm so excited for you all to be here. I am the creator of the Chaos to Clarity coaching method, as well as the Empower Her Business Blueprint. And today I have Hannah with me on the podcast. I'm so excited to have her here for an interview. So Hannah, go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you do, who you serve, and how long you've been in business.
Yeah, that's a lot of questions. Hi.
I know.
Hi, everyone. My name is Hannah. Thank you for the introduction, Maggie. It's a real pleasure being here and connecting with you and your audience. I am a business strategist, mindset coach, marketing coach. I'm a mommy, I'm a wife, I'm a daughter, and I'm many labels.
Yeah.
I'm sure many other women can relate to. I'm originally from Malta. I'm currently living in Kathmandu, Nepal. This is where my husband is from. So I'm half the year, I guess, in between two countries. And I predominantly work online. I work very remotely. I love this lifestyle that I have created, where I get to serve people around the world. Predominantly, I'm working with other coaches, conscious coaches who can fall under the umbrella, if you like, of life coaching, healing, therapy. And I help them attract clients online using content-driven strategies. I really believe that there is no cookie cutter approach to this kind of work. I have tried it. I have seen others try it. For some people, it can work really well. And for many, it can just result in so much burnout and stress and hating your business. And that's a place where I don't want to be. And that's a place where I don't want to see any more conscious, impact-driven people facing, because they came here with their gifts to share with the world and to create positive impact and transformation. And we don't want to be in a space of resenting the business side, right? We want to actually enhance that and allow them to expand it. So that's where I'm at, and a little bit about like where I'm coming from.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that so much. And I really resonate with, not having a cookie cutter strategy for everyone, because I help my clients do the same thing, right? Like, just because it worked for person A doesn't mean it's going to work for person B. Really, how to kind of develop your own unique strategies, right? Where you can take some of one thing, some of another, and you can leave things that don't work and really just create this business that you truly love. So you get to, when you open your computer, when you turn it on, you get to be like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I'm so thankful. I'm so excited. I get to show up, and it's not like, oh my gosh, I can't, because I've been there. I've been in that place where it's like, oh, I can't do this today. So I've started 3 businesses. And my second business, my yoga studio, it got to that point where I was like, I don't even want to walk in the door. I just can't. And at that point it was the pandemic. So it was a whole extra level of crazy, right? That was happening with that. But I had started feeling that prior to all of the lockdown stuff, right? Like prior to all of that happening, I was like, is this really what I want? Right. And, like having the chance or having the choice really to pivot is really powerful.
Yeah. It's really interesting you bring that up. Actually, I didn't know this about you, because that's really where I sort of I kickstarted my coaching business online. So I had already
Okay.
been doing some form of informal coaching and
Hmm.
strategy and consultancy. My background is in business strategy and marketing for 10 years prior to this.
Okay.
And it was actually thanks to the global event
Yeah.
I started taking coaching more seriously and really pivoted myself online to help yoga teachers
Oh,
pivot
wow.
the online space. So that was exactly like my first niche. That's the first
Yeah.
when I really sort of niched down
Sure.
actually.
Yeah. That's really fascinating. I would say that was probably one of the hardest periods in my life was, well, number one, I was in Bali when everything shut down. I was leading a yoga retreat. So like,
Uh,
my cohort, the two leaders, right? Myself and my friend, we landed and like literally 2 days later, we were watching the news and I'm like, I don't even know how we're getting home. Are people going to even end up here? Like what it was just like we totally unknown. But it was actually such an amazing retreat. It was actually like a true retreat where we really got to relax and things weren't like overly crazy on Bali. And I'm very thankful for that, to be able to be in that space of like allowing myself some true relaxation and reflection. That really empowered me then when we came home and had to, I guess face what was happening, right back to reality. And yes, so I pivoted the whole studio online knowing that like I really am not sure how this is going to go. And I really am not sure I want to reopen the studio, which was such a crazy thought for me, right? Because it wasn't like on my bucket list of like, I knew I didn't want the yoga studio to be a forever job, but I didn't realize that it was going to come by September of 2020, I would be closing the studio. So, but that really allowed me to pivot deeper into coaching as well, right? So I'd been coaching yoga teachers. I had a yoga teacher training. We did a lot of coaching in there, and I really helped them hone in on offer, how to like speak to clients, how to create content to attract clients, and then essentially how to close sales, right? Like how to get clients in the studio and get them to pay. So I pivoted into the online space, and I was like, okay, do I want to help yoga teachers or do I want to help? So I'm also a photographer, right? So do I want to help photographers or do I want to help coaches, right? Because I saw that gap in the coaching world as well, that people go through coach training and they have
yeah.
an offer, right? They come out with an offer, but it's not necessarily the greatest or best, or, like there's definitely further they can dive deeper. So, I
Yeah.
pivoted to helping coaches because I saw the need there.
Yeah, there are two things I wanna talk into here that you mentioned. I think the first one is like when you pivoted, you must have felt obviously that push pull. Like,
Oh my
is
gosh,
this
yeah.
probably a lot of resistance, or
Yes.
is this aligned? Is it not aligned? Is this resistance? And I feel like this is a lot of the work that people sort of going back to what we're talking about doing doing things in your business that you end up resenting, right?
Sure.
This
Yeah.
is one of the biggest struggles that people have. It's not about it's yes, okay, you can learn how to create offers, you can learn how to do the marketing, you can learn all of the tools and all of that stuff. But
Right.
something that people really struggle with is this resistance because of a limiting belief or a fear or a thought that I might have, whatever? Or is this actually misaligned work? Because I know a lot of people who
Right.
go, oh, social media is so misaligned with me. Like, but when we start like, unpacking what that really means and why, it's not really the case. Or that strategy, I'm not in alignment with that strategy. Okay, let's
Right.
unpack that. And actually, it's just fueled by beliefs that don't serve them
Yeah.
or so I think there's this that really, so when you pivoted your business, obviously you had to do a lot of that self-reflection.
Oh my gosh, yes. Yeah. Yeah. And
And like,
like in the moment, self-reflection, as I was like, so I was also at the tail end of a 500-hour teacher training, right? So I was like getting my master level, my 500 RYT. And I said to my husband, I was like, I don't think I want to keep the yoga studio open. And he's like, you're taking this like next level yoga teacher training so you can keep your yoga teacher training going. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't, it's really, it doesn't, it feels really hard, and it feels really like I'm just dragging my feet, and I don't want to show up and do this work. I don't think
Yeah.
this is aligned anymore. And he's like, okay. He's like, well, what do you want to do? Right. So, like moving through those emotions, feeling that, misalignment of like, this just really isn't what I am called to be doing. I love the coaching, but I don't necessarily love running a studio, So we had to
Yeah.
very quickly explore, do we want to sell the studio? Do we want to close it? Are there people who are willing to buy it, right? Like how much do we price it for? All of those things that I hadn't really thought out prior to that, right? Like I didn't have an exit plan when I thought in March, I don't want to do this anymore.
Exactly. That's really interesting. That process of understanding where is the resistance and where is the misalignment, and being able to strategize and take actions, align actions accordingly, right?
Right.
Yeah. And the second thing that you mentioned was like that offer creation of life coaches and coaches leaving their program with an offer.
Yeah.
I've seen so many times where people are like, of course I have this offer, blah, 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 blah. And they take me to the offer. And then when we start unpacking how they feel about it, it's like, yeah, but it's not really me. It's like what we're
Right.
supposed to, right?
Yes. Yes.
Like,
Yes.
no,
Right.
that's not what you're supposed to do. Like, you're supposed to do you. Like people want to work with you. No, it's a like pre-made whatever
Right.
offer.
Yeah.
Everyone is coming, like your whole cohort is basically selling the same thing.
Right. Right. Yes, exactly. Exactly. So when I connect with women who are like, well, I've got this thing, but I'm not super excited about it. So then to literally unpack that and say, okay, well, what are you excited about? Right? Like just let's clean the slate. What are you excited to teach about? What is something that you've been through that you can help someone else through? Right?
100%.
And yeah, and getting into that kind of offer creation, like that for me is so exciting.
It is.
Um, and even from a yoga teacher standpoint, when I had the yoga teacher training, right? Like I taught primarily power vinyasa, which is cool, but I also knew how to teach a variety of other classes. So at the beginning of every teacher training, I would say, okay, what are you most interested in? Like, yes, we have to learn all of these poses, but I want to help you. If you want to do a slow flow, I want to teach you how to do that. If you want to do more beginner stuff, I want to teach you how to do that, right? Like if you want to go hog wild and do full force power vinyasa, well, okay, let's learn that. So knowing that I have the power to do that, like that I have the ability to help others like pull
Yeah.
that greatness out of them is so fulfilling.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what you just said. Pull the power, pull the greatness out of them. I'm
Yeah.
sorry,
Yeah.
notifications. Pull the greatness out of them. I think that's a really nice one. Like quote that. Because I think for me that's what it's really about. Finding, extracting people's current existing skills, strengths, and just natural abilities, right? I call them the
Right.
superpowers, and leveraging those to run their business. So I know so many people who are brilliant writers, and they're forcing themselves to come on camera, which is not their natural thing.
Right.
They're spending so much energy in trying to do the video, they're not doing any writing. Like
Mhm.
focus on the writing and
Right.
slowly build up the confidence to do the video. But focus on where you're strong, focus
Yep.
on where your skills are at already. And I think that's really important to going back to like the cookie cutter approach. Like there's no right or wrong formula. It's
Hmm.
finding what works for you and what's sustainable for you, what is aligned with you and your strengths, skills, your values, your goals, your mission. It's coming into alignment with all of these parts.
Yeah, for sure. So for me, I call all of that stuff where it feels like you're just banging your head against the wall. I call that the chaos, right? That's the chaos that's like, oh my gosh, it's just a whirlwind and you can't keep up and you're just exhausted, right? So for me, moving from the chaos into the clarity of like, okay, I get to choose the actions, I get to choose the strategies, I get to try these things on, and if they don't work, okay, I'm gonna figure out something else, right? Like I'm gonna shift. that one degree and say, okay, this is not working right now how I want it to. How can I shift just a little
Yeah.
bit, right? To make it a little bit easier, a little bit more, I don't know, acceptable for me, right? Like where I'm like, okay, I'm excited to show up and do this thing.
Yeah. Yeah. When I feel that I'm banging against the wall, or I can sense my clients are doing that, um, I often invite play and curiosity into the
Yes.
picture. Because when we approach something with play and curiosity, as a child would, though, you're gonna explore something new, and you're testing it, and there's so much lightness that you
Right.
bring into the whatever it is that you're doing. Number one, it gets more enjoyable, and number two, you're less sort of pressured and obsessed with having a specific result.
Right.
And so in doing that, you're more open to all of the other results that you get from this
Yeah.
action.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, so I have two kids as well. I have a 6-year-old and a 2-year-old, and definitely inviting play, even for them when they get frustrated, right? My 6-year-old just started school yesterday, and, like I knew it was going to be a fairly big transition. It's an all day school day. Right. So exhaustion, hungry, excited, scared, like literally all of the emotions existing at once. Right. So, to come home and have a little bit of rest, but then to allow play. And like for us, my husband and I, to get on the floor and play with them, even if we don't really want to, like get on the floor, play, roll around. It doesn't matter, laugh. And then like literally all of the crazy, like angry, sad, all of those emotions start to melt away, and like everyone just starts to feel better.
Yeah. So what if we treat our business with the same attitude?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I love that. And I've often, encouraged clients, especially when they're stuck, right?
Yeah.
To how can you go out and do something fun for yourself, right? Literally go and play, go roll in the grass, go for a walk, go treat yourself to a coffee, like go to a movie, just anything that gets you out and away from your business so that you're not just banging your head against all the things, right?
Yeah. And oftentimes this is often the result of being sort of blindsided into thinking that it has to be a certain way,
Right.
and not being open to the other options. And this happens a lot because whether you're aware of it or not, guys, you tend to compare yourselves all the time to everyone else, and
Right.
according to what they're doing, so, and what the others are doing. And so we think that we need to be like them, or we think we need to do the things that they're doing, and that is not the case.
Hmm.
We This is where people seriously waste so much time and energy and money and other resources into doing things that we don't need to be doing where you're at right now in your business, right?
Right.
So we
Yeah.
try to copy everyone else's like strategies or tactics or whatnot, but that's not what you need in your business today.
Hmm.
So this can be, again, the chaos, the spinning wheels, the banging, the banging up against
Right.
the wall, the hamster's wheel, like all of these feelings of overwhelm and frustration and never ending, like huge, humongous tasks, complicated, maybe techie, maybe this, maybe that. Oftentimes it's because it's not where you're supposed to be spending your energy.
Hmm.
And instead we could be
Hmm.
spending the energy and the focus where it actually matters.
Right.
And using social media, that could look like, for example, quality audience growth. It could be, getting into conversation with people, collecting insights, organizing events. I don't know, whatever your strategy is, but we focus a lot of the time on tools that we don't really need right now.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. So tell me something challenging that you have overcome in your business, and how did it affect your business?
Interesting. I think the first challenge that's coming up for me was at the beginning of my journey. And this was, even though I'm a marketer, I refused to niche down. And I know
Oh,
this is an unpopular opinion about niching, and everyone's like, you don't have to niche, and you don't have to do shit, and you don't have to put yourself in a box. I don't know where you stand on this. But I'll tell you, tell you my journey through it. So I
Yeah.
really resisted it. And it was, again, based on the beliefs of, I don't want to put myself in a box. I don't want to limit the people I can help, blah, 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 blah. And in actual fact, I was doing fantastic at creating lots of content and generating lots of likes and engagement and wows, and you're so inspiring and all of that jazz. But that was it. That's all I was doing. I was
Uh-huh.
creating a lot. I was creating a lot of noise. I was creating a lot of wows, but
Mm-hmm.
no action takers, right? And so this is what sort of prompted me to, okay, maybe I need to get a little bit more specific. I was very general. I was very general, like generalizing. This is when I started to get very specific on serving one single audience with one single problem that is like
Yeah.
really urgent. And that was the pivot of the yoga studio pivot
Yeah.
into an online base. Um, so a single audience, a single platform, a single message, a single solution, and that is really what kickstarted my coaching business. And the reason why I bring this up as a challenge, because a lot of people think that niching down means restricting themselves and not bringing their multifaceted, I don't know what to call it, like their multifaceted, multi-skills modalities into the game.
Sure.
But niching down has nothing to do with you choosing which tools or which modality you have.
Right. Yes.
All of the tools, all of the learnings, all of the skills, all of the modalities, all of the experiences, you can't niche that down. That's you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so it's just a matter of getting really crystal clear on that marketing message and who you're serving, so that you can actually start serving people. Because
Right.
otherwise, you're going to be generating a lot of wows and hearts and loves and likes, but that's not going to create anything. That's not going to create the impact you're here to create. That's not going to create the income. That's not going to create the legacy you want to build. That's not going to create the lifestyle you want to live. Like, it's just creating noise.
Right.
So
Yes.
that was my challenge, the
Yeah.
niching, the resistance.
Yeah. And it's so funny because I experienced the same thing, right? When I closed the yoga studio and made that pivot, I was like, I'm just going to be a coach and I don't care. Right? Like and I know better, right? Like my yoga studio was like the niche for my yoga studio was typically beginners, people who were first coming to yoga, people who were
Mhm.
just starting their journey, right? Understanding and learning the basics. That is where like my sweet spot was. And did I know a ton of other stuff? Yes, absolutely. And that's just how it wound up, right? Like so then when I pivoted, well, number one, I was scared to tell people, hey, I'm a coach now, because I was a yoga teacher and then I was a yoga studio owner and then I created that yoga teacher training. And prior to that, I was a photographer. So, I got in my own head, in my own way of like, oh my gosh, people are going to think I'm nuts. Now I'm pivoting again. What are they
Yeah.
going to think? Right. And instead of just rolling with it and just being like, yeah, I'm pivoting, this is what I'm doing now. I
An entrepreneur.
stay right. Like I held myself back and I was like, I can't tell anyone I'm a coach. Right. And so it got all in my head. My niche was just as broad as can be. And, at the time, the cohort of coaching that I was in, that coach really kind of encouraged that of me. And I look back at that and I'm like, yeah, I needed to learn that lesson, right? Like it wasn't that coach's fault. It wasn't my fault. It was a lesson that I needed to learn. Right. So after like a year and a half of struggling to connect with anyone, I generated a lot of likes. I generated a lot of comments, a lot of like, oh my gosh, you're amazing. But
Yeah,
that
the
didn't,
fans.
right? Like it didn't create anything else. Just so like it was one of those where I'm like, yep, okay, I've got a niche. And what do I want to do? Right. Like the world is my oyster. Pick something, start doing that. And if it doesn't work, like here are the parameters for what quote unquote success can mean for me. If I'm doing these things, then this is good. If these things are not met, then it's time to, like I said before, shift that 1 degree and try something new. So yeah.
Indeed. In fact, I always tell people, like, because you're choosing to work with a type of person or group of people today doesn't mean like it's going to be written on your tombstone, on your gravestone. Thanks. Like, it's really not the end of the world. Like, you can change your mind, like you can
Right.
shift that 1 degree. And in fact, you will see like throughout the journey, your ideal client is going to continue shifting to some degree or other. Number
Right.
one, you're going to get to know them much deeper. Number two, you're going to get to know yourself much deeper.
Mm-hmm.
And so the
Mm-hmm.
person that you want to attract is going to shift as you
Right.
progress through your entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that so much. I love that. So, what is one business tip that you would tell someone who is either just starting their journey or maybe feeling kind of stuck in that chaos of business?
Simplify.
Yes. I love it. I love it. I tell clients
Simplify.
that so much. Yes. Yeah.
Like there's so much noise, and this is what I was talking about before. I get on so many calls with people who are obsessed on having the website, having the funnels, having like a gazillion offers, having a gazillion lead magnets, having all of the email nurturing sequences and all of that stuff. Like this is noise if you have not yet focused on how do I grow an audience?
Yes.
How do I create content that speaks to this audience? And what is my offer that meets their needs, or like what is my solution to their needs, problems, desires?
Right.
Like if you have not understood or clarified any of that, all of this other stuff, these are tools to automate. These are tools to scale. These are tools
Mm-hmm.
and your business. You need
Right.
to go back to the foundations.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, simplify. Like cut all of that crap basically out for now. They're gonna be useful later, yes. But simplify, come back to like the essentials or what it
Mm-hmm.
is offering, and keep it stupid simple. Like I said, like when I wasn't earning anything from the online work until I got crystal clear on one target audience with one specific need, one specific solution, and I spoke to them on one platform.
Yep. Yeah. Yep.
Finished. Simple.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
even to this day, I'm very much like, okay, I'm feeling like my energy is going in different places. What do I need to do? Focus, simplify, like declutter,
Right.
declutter,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
go back to like simple things. What are the daily tasks? Even if it seems like the most mundane, boring thing,
Right.
probably mundane, boring thing is what's going to make you profit.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I read a book called The Slight Edge by I think Jeff Olson, right? And he talks about that the difference between success and quote unquote failure is a slight edge, right? It's those mundane things. It's those little things that you're like, oh man, I have to get up and I have to check my notification. I have to post a question on Facebook in this Facebook group again, right? Where it seems mundane, right? And not necessarily in that like, oh, I have to, but like, oh, I gotta do this thing, right? To generate where I'm asking questions or posting content. Again, that's creating conversations, right? And it feels mundane. It's like, oh, what is this going to do? But creating those conversations opens the door to sales, and that those sales opens the door to closing, to making money, to serving your clients.
Everything, even if you don't close that specific client, just having that conversation or opening that, initiating that conversation is going to give you so much insight. Like people ask
Right.
me, how do you create your content? How do you always have something to say? Well, because I'm tuning in. I actually wrote a
Right.
post about this, about how I
Yeah.
tuned out and
Yeah.
disconnected. And that just left me like thinking by myself, right? Which made absolute zero sense. Like connect with your audience, connect with your audience.
Mm-hmm.
Even if they don't buy from you today, it's fine. Take that information, leverage the insights that they're giving you, use that
Right.
as content.
Yeah. I also think something that people forget is that, especially in a service-based business like coaching, your content, your offer is not about you. I mean, you may have stories to support it, but at the end of the day, you want to solve your clients' problems, right? So what problem do they have that you can solve, right? And if you don't know, ask them, right? There are millions of Facebook groups. There are, I don't know, like 63 million, probably more than that, users on Facebook, right? If you're just thinking of one platform, like the world is your oyster, right? Pick your platform, like you said, simplify, stay in one place until you get really, really good at that, and then maybe branch out. But I mean, even if you're serving 1% of 63 million people, I mean, that's still, math is not, that's still a lot of people.
It's not my I can't even calculate that.
I mean, I think that's still like it's either 63,000 people or 630,000 people. It's a lot of people. A lot of people. So yeah. I think, it's such a good reminder to, again, keep things simple. It's okay to have a simple business, right? Because at the end of the day, if it's simple, it's going to be a lot easier to show up, right? It's going to
And
be
it's
a
gonna
lot
be a lot
easier. Yeah. Yeah.
scale up.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, what is one piece of advice that you'd tell your younger self?
You are enough.
I love that. I love
Stop.
that.
Yeah. Stop trying to prove something. You're enough.
Yeah. I love that so much.
And that's
Yeah.
deep rooted.
It is. Yeah, it totally is.
Oh my God. A lot of shit I had to work through.
Yeah. Well, and I think, everybody has all of that garbage, that shit, right? Like everybody has that to work through. And at the end of the day, right? Like knowing you can come back to yourself, knowing that you're enough, I think is one of those things where as we age, right? Like as we get older, like knowing that we have all the answers we need to solve today's problems right now, I think is just so like, it's rewarding, and it's also just like fulfilling to be like, yes, I have enough, I am enough, and I can get up tomorrow and I'm going to have the answers. I'm going to be able to show up tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. And even yeah, and okay, we can go down the rabbit hole with this one. So I'll
totally.
Let's just leave it. We can book another session just talking about the I am enoughness.
Right? Oh my goodness, yes, for sure. For sure. So my last question today is, if you were a kitchen gadget or utensil or tool for the kitchen, right? What would you be and why?
Oh my God. I think I'll be a peeler.
Ooh, I like it. I like it.
Why? I think it's versatile. But apart from peeling, you can also do these squiggly things like with the zucchini and for the salad.
Yep.
Instead of buying a spiralizer, but that's cool, but you can still kind of get the job done with this.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Coming back to the simple basics, right? Like it's simple, it's easy, it's not complicated. Oh, I love it. I love it. It's one of my favorite questions to ask, right? I think it really brings out so much personality in people without like really having to like dig and show off, right?
Doesn't need extra resources, it doesn't need electricity, it's self-sustainable. Like...
Yep. Yes, for sure. Well, Hannah, thank you so much for being on today's podcast. So I'm going to link everything below in the show notes, but go ahead and tell people how they can connect with you, where the best place to connect, and any links that you want to give.
Yeah, so you can connect with me on Instagram. That's at Han, H-A-N, Cremona, Cremona. The last time I checked, no one has my name. So I think it's relatively easy to find me. You can connect with me on Instagram or on LinkedIn or Facebook with my name, Hannah Cremona. And yeah, you can see all the stuff that I have going on.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. I'm so excited for everybody to listen. There's so many amazing like golden nuggets of things to take away from this episode. I think people are going to just love it.
Absolutely. Thank you, Maggie, for having me. And thank you to all listening.
Wow. What a great interview. Thank you so much for showing up here on the Chaos Clarity podcast. Again, my name is Maggie. I'm so excited to connect with you. You can find all of the information, all of the links below in the show notes for today's interview. And I hope you have the best day ever.